audio interface and you're just getting into music, or you're just trying to upgrade your already existing setup, this video is for you. Today we got the Apollo Twin X, the Universal Audio Aero, and the Scarlett. Which one's the better interface? And let me know in the comments, what interface are you using right now? And if you want to buy any of these products that I mentioned, there will be a link in the description from Amazon. These 4 things are important when you're buying an audio interface: the build quality, the ease of use, the sound quality, and the price. First, let's talk about the build quality and the Scarlett. And I would give it a 2.5 out of 5 as far as like the build quality. Personally, I had some issues with the cable, the connection in the back. I had to buy multiple different ones because if you keep plugging it in over time, it will get loose and you got to buy a whole new interface. And when you buy one of these Scarlett interfaces, don't try to baby it. Don't try to be nice. Be like, oh, let me place it down nicely, properly. It's going to get scratches. I don't care what you say, it's going to get scratches. You can bring your nail to the interface and it's probably going to leave a scratch, and you can see the red paint on your finger, and you can probably write on the raw and put your name so people know you were there. And you can see mine, I didn't even decide to clean it. This is the real case scenario. I had this Scarlett interface for years. I took it to different cities and states and stuff like that. You know, flew around to different airports and had this in my backpack, and this is what it looks like. It is what it is. Next is the Universal Audio Aero. This thing is built a little bit better than the Scarlett. The volume knob feels kind of cheap, and it's kind of similar to the Apollo Solo. Now this thing could probably take a drop or two, you know what I'm saying? It's built a little bit more sturdier than the Scarlett, and it feels good, but it does feel like you spent a little bit more money on the interface. The volume knob can come off, you know, so just be careful. You know, I've seen people on social media have this interface and they lost their volume knob. You know, it is what it is. And I would personally give the Aero a 4 out of 5 as far as like the build quality. The metal that they're using does feel a little bit more cheaper than the Apollo Twin. So next, let's go ahead and jump into the Apollo Twin. The build quality on the Apollo X does feel like you actually spent some money on it. The volume knob it feels really pleasing to the touch. The aluminum on the Apollo Twin X really feels nice, and everything just feels more sturdy and more like premium on this particular audio interface. And personally, I would give this a 5 out of 5 because I don't have any issues with the build quality. I just think that it's a noticeable difference from the Apollo Twin X and the Aero. The Aero just feels a little bit more cheaper to the touch compared to the Apollo Twin X. Don't think you should drop it at all. I'm not going to say it'll probably last a couple drops because it does feel pretty premium, but I don't suggest dropping it at all. No. Next is jumping to the ease of use. Now with all of these interfaces, I would say the Scarlett is probably the easiest to use. You literally just plug it in through USB. Most computers have USB ports on them, so it's really simple to connect and get started, and you don't have to download any programs. It just installs itself and you're good to go. And I would suggest this kind of interface for people who are just beginning and starting out and thinking about spending a lot of money, but they don't want to just go ahead and spend the whole thing right now. Yeah, I would suggest getting a Scarlett. It's super easy to use, whether you're on Mac or PC, it doesn't really matter. For the Universal Audio Aero, it is somewhat easy, especially if you're a Mac user. If you're on PC, you're probably going to have some issues with Thunderbolt unless you get the USB version. I'm not sure exactly how that works out, but yeah, you may have some issues on PC with some programs not being able to run Thunderbolt connections and stuff like that. But I would say it's not as easy as the Scarlett, but I think it's useful, and you can get good sound on a PC if you know all the workarounds and stuff like that, but easier on a Mac for sure. You're gonna be perfectly fine. Next, with the Apollo Twin X, it's probably a little bit more advanced. Same thing with the Aero with that too. You might have some issues on PC, but it's super easy to use, but you might need to be advanced to understand and get all the use out of it. I wouldn't say it's necessarily as easy to use as a Scarlett. And I would definitely say the Aero is more easy to use than the Apollo Twin X because it has so many buttons on there. So next, the sound quality. A lot of people really care about the sound quality. This is one of the most important parts as far as audio interface, the sound quality. What does it sound like? How good is it? You know, and there's different numbers how you can tell how good is the actual audio interface. For an example, the dynamic range. An audio interface can only take so much dynamic range of a musical frequency. For an example, the Scarlett has a dynamic range of 106. The Audio Aero has a dynamic range of 115, and that's somewhat similar to the Apollo Solo, along with the Apollo Twin Mark II. They both have the exact same amount of dynamic range, and with the Apollo Twin X, it goes all the way up to 127. Universal Audio really tries to glorify this and puts it all over their website when you look for this type of interface, and they show you that this is a pretty high number. And personally, I can definitely say on my end, just by experimenting with all three of these interfaces, I can definitely tell there's a difference as far as the sound. It's so much more easier to mix on the Apollo Twin X for me. Of course, you can mix on each and every single one of those interfaces, but it's just something about the separation and the leveling. It's just so much easier to do when you have that high number of dynamic range. And I didn't think that was possible, but I think you can get a better mix with better gear. It's so much easier just to get the right type of thing that I'm looking for with the Apollo Twin X. I'm also going to have something playing exported a beat out of all of these interfaces, and then let me know if you notice a difference. All right, so that's the sound quality. Let's go ahead and jump into the last thing, which is the price. Now, with the Scarlett, you can pretty much get a good deal on it if you look for on eBay or something like that, but you can get a good price just by, I think, $150. That's the maximum that I think I would ever pay for a Scarlett 2i2. But other than that, it's pretty cheap. It's a good budget interface. Next is the Universal Audio Aero. Now this is a $500 interface. You may find other ways and other websites to get it a little bit cheaper, but majority is like $500. Once I moved to the Aero from the Scarlett, I noticed there was a higher qualityness to it as far as like the sound and everything, especially with the headphones. Like I just got way more high quality out of the headphones when I moved up to that $500 interface, and I thought it was well worth it. I really loved it and enjoyed it. That is when I decided I wanted more. You only get one processing power out of the Universal Audio Aero, and they come with their own chips to help you process and mix your music, and that only has one chip inside. And then I wanted to go ahead and move on to something a little bit more better, and that is the Apollo Twin X. Now this you can probably get for like $1,000 and $100, or go all the way up to like around like $1,600, depending on how many chips you want inside the interface. Now me personally, I got a quad and I got the Heritage Edition, so that ran me up to like $1,600. Personally, I feel like it was worth it for me. I noticed a difference, and I would definitely say it was a step up from the Aero, and I would highly suggest, you know, depending on your situation and what area in life you are as a music creator, you know, you pick on which one is best for you. If you're just beginning, I would definitely say go ahead and just get the Scarlett. It's a great starting point, and you could definitely get a good high quality sound with that. If you have a Scarlett already, but you just want a little bit more, and you have a computer with USB and Thunderbolt, or maybe USB-C, you can get an Aero and just be satisfied. But if you're really into like the mixing and stuff, and you really want to go into all the details and get really nitty gritty, I would definitely suggest getting Apollo Twin X. You have so much more power and more quality, and it's so much easier just to get that specific job done. You know, if you may be just an artist and you just want to record the stuff, I would definitely say get an Aero or Apollo Solo. That's perfectly fine. You can just get your recordings done, and then boom, you don't got to worry about the mixing. Somebody else can do it, and that's what your job is. Boom, you got your job done. Same thing with the Scarlett. You can definitely get your recordings done with that, get some decent sound quality. Me personally, I just feel like just go all out, man. I think you guys should go ahead and get the Apollo Twin X. I highly recommend it. You won't be disappointed unless you're on PC and you're not really computer illiterate. You might have an issue a little bit there. And if you want to buy any of these products that I mentioned, there will be a link in the description from Amazon. I am an affiliate, but there's no price difference to you. It just helps out with the channel if you do purchase anything. Hopefully this video was able to help you. Let me know what you guys thought, and like I said, let me know what audio interface you're currently using. You guys stay safe, and remember, it's only a matter of time. Peace.